Welcome to a new season of Orrville Works. I'm Lori Reinbolt, President of the Orrville Area Chamber of Commerce. I'll be your host this season. We will be introducing people that help to make Orrville work. From councilmen to educators to civic leaders and industry leaders. So these are the people that make our community work. Welcome to another episode of Orrville Works. I'm happy to introduce you today to Bruce Steiner, who is the CNC and Advanced Manufacturing Instructor with the RAMTEC facility at the Wayne County Schools Career Center. Welcome, Bruce.
Thank you, Lori. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, thank you so much for coming to tell us a little bit more about this exciting program that is now here in Wayne County. So, what is RAMTEC?
What is RAMTEC? RAMTEC is an acronym, and it stands for a rather long name, and you'll be glad when I'm done that we called it RAMTEC. The Robotics and Automated Manufacturing Technology Education Collaborative. So that's a real fancy title to say there are a group of about 22 schools around the state of Ohio that received grant funding as part of not only an economic stimulus, but really it was more of a skilled job stimulus, because we kept hearing the same thing, and that is manufacturing, whether it's here in Orrville or Wayne County or statewide, that manufacturing would love to expand, businesses are trying to expand, but they lack the skilled employees to be able to hire, to be able to run these high-tech pieces of equipment. And so we are seeking to address that, and the state legislature approved a straight A grant is what it was called, and we are one of the recipients. And so we are using some of those funds to purchase additional equipment, and the school contributed financially and built the building. And so we have a very nice facility that is designed to not only train, traditionally we would mostly look at high school students, but this really goes into adults. Many people are coming through because they want to retool perhaps what they've been working, the job they've been working, the career or profession for the last 10 or 15 years. It's changed. Okay.
Let's tell us a little bit about your background. You're a Wayne County guy.
Grew up in Wayne County. I am a Smithville graduate who went to the Career Center, and back in those days called Machine Trades. And the first place, I had an opportunity to work at Flotorque here in Orrville.
Which is now Moog.
And so how the names change. But a fantastic opportunity, and being there, and as a young person, it was neat because you had some of these older folks who are more established in their career, and not only teaching you technical skills, but they also added neat little insights and little pearls of wisdom along the way about life and things like that.
So you graduated from the Career Center.
I did.
And what was your next step in your path?
A company that I always say no 19-year-old should ever get paid to drive a race car or be in the racing industry, because this 19-year-old lacked the maturity to turn that off when they got back on the road. So I paid a few speeding tickets. But we were in the high-performance industry making aluminum cylinder heads for the drag racing and offshore boat racing industry. Back in those days, in the late 80s, early 90s, they had the whole monster truck rage and everything like that. So everyone was looking at building a lot of horsepower. And so we were part of that, and it was a local company, the Wilbert Company, did all of our production machining, and then we did the small batch custom machining in our facility, as well as all the research and development.
So very exciting.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I did that for my first 7 years out of school.
What was it that turned you back to look at being an instructor?
Interesting question, because I never, as a high school student, I never saw myself darken the door. Yeah, exactly. Coming back to the dark side, being part of that. But no, I guess so much of it was, looking back, after I had 7 or 8 years after high school to look back, there were people throughout life that contributed Earlier I mentioned some of the advice, life advice, beyond the technical when I was interacting at FlowTorque, now Moog, and at the Wilbert Company and TrickFlow, and just some of the executives, even as we worked at the Wilbert Company, they were just willing to share and just be real people. And one of the things I learned is that leadership and growing and being more perhaps than what you saw as a young person, it's not just for the wealthy, not just for the elite, it's for anyone who wants to step up and
you
take
stepped up.
that. And to a degree, yes. And so I took some of that challenge and some of their advice. And so there's an element where I guess after looking back, you realize maybe you want to give some of that back to another generation.
So how long have you been at the Career Center?
I'm getting ready to start year number 10. So
Okay.
the first 9 years.
So that's a milestone then.
It is. It is. I
How
keep telling
time
the
flies.
students that they're stressing me out. I'm getting some white hair on the side. Couldn't have anything to do with my age.
Not
it
at
has
all.
everything to do with stress.
them.
So anyway, the first 9 years I was teaching the precision machining program.
Okay.
And that's a 2-year program, so students will spend their junior and senior year learning all the foundations there, which is an incredible program, very strong. And so it was a tough decision to know which way to go, but with the RAMTEC, we had this opportunity. I had been with the RAMTEC kind of planning process for 3 years, and so I guess I really wanted to see that new project come to fruition and see that through. I guess maybe I was ready for a little bit different challenge or whatever.
Sure. So now you are an instructor for RAMTEC.
Correct.
So you specifically work with that program.
Correct.
Why do you think RAMTEC is important to Wayne County?
This goes back, I'm going to take you back 3 years,
Okay.
where this whole idea began. Some people may or may not know that one of the components of the Career Tech, the Career Center, the Career Tech training, is we have what's called advanced placement, which means that a student, usually in their senior year, second half perhaps, they are doing really a great job. They're learning their material. Now we start talking to outside companies and saying, hey, do you have a need for a young person with entry-level skills?
Right. To get them out into the workplace.
Right.
To start
Kind of out of
applying those skills.
exactly, out of the classroom and into the workplace. So making it real. And so we do those sorts of things. And it's in that process where I'm going out and I'm talking to human resource managers at local companies or owners of local companies and asking the questions, what are your needs? What talent are you looking for? What skills do you want these students to possess?
Okay.
So that they're highly hireable. And it was in those meetings that I was hearing 3 times from 3 companies within a 4-mile radius of our school,
Okay.
the words that they were going to start their own training facility.
So that sounds expensive to have
It is, and
a
so
lot of 4 different training facilities.
it does. And I started asking, well, how much, if I may ask, how much are you going to be investing in this? Because the initial upfront cost is significant. And I was hearing everything from $1 million to $2.5 million. And so I came back to the principal and we had a conversation about, what, I think we're missing an opportunity here. Just in these 3 companies, it sounds like there's going to be over $5 million invested in individual training facilities.
Right.
And so we talked about it and we ended up going to those companies and saying, here's an idea. Would you have an interest? What if, because you are manufacturers and you guys are great at what you do,
Right.
if you continue to manufacture, let us take the training component, which is what we do, and then each individual company can lease or rent time to use those facilities rather than having it on their own property.
So we were able to consolidate resources.
Absolutely.
So it saved everybody money,
Absolutely.
but it maximized the impact. So another reason why projects happen and work well is when we play nice together and
We
everybody
did.
can see the benefit of consolidating their resources and putting it all funneled towards one project.
You're absolutely correct. The committee, the group of companies that got together were just fantastic. And a lot of times when you bring a group together, as I'm sure you're very well aware in your position here, but everyone's looking out for their individual needs. And that's very appropriate. But there's a time then we come together and we say, okay, amongst our individual needs, we all have some common needs that we share. And those are the things we wanted to come together, build one common training facility, and work on all those foundations.
Well, that's so important because, as you know, manufacturing is the largest industry sector in the county.
Right.
We've got a lot of different kinds of industry.
Yes, we are diverse.
But we are moving as a country towards more automation, new technology being incorporated into our manufacturing facilities. Manufacturing today looks a little different than it used to.
It does. It looks very different. And some of the repetitious tasks that maybe people would get bored with in the past, because the price of robots are coming down, we're seeing that companies can integrate those into some of the more mundane tasks, repetition or heavy lifting. That maybe in the past would cause a back strain or something, or reaching into just simply a dusty or dirty environment. You let the robot do that part, bring something out to us in a clean environment, but where it requires thought processes, that's still going to remain the human task. And I always say that the robot is not replacing the person. The robot is replacing some of the task, but that robot now needs a programmer. It needs someone who can do preventive maintenance on it.
So we hear a lot today about the decision between going to college, going to the workforce. You mentioned earlier that RAMTEC trained individuals had earning potential. What does modern manufacturing look like in terms of the types of salary dollars you can earn?
On some of the websites that I frequent, looking at some of those sorts of things, we're seeing, I see numbers, and depends on the agency you're talking to, but I'm seeing ranges anywhere in the 45,000 to northeastern Ohio. When you look at Ohio in general, we're around 45,000. But when you look at northeastern Ohio, which Wayne County sits in, we start seeing 58 to 59,000 is the average for skilled manufacturing, and that is without a college degree. And I'm not saying not to go to college, but I'm saying that you can earn a very good living learning the skills necessary in modern manufacturing without that college degree.
So, and we have that in RAMTEC, that students can learn that right here.
We do. It's right here in Wayne County.
Now you're working primarily with high school students.
Correct.
But RAMTEC also serves our adult students and employers, as you had mentioned before.
Exactly. In the past, education was traditionally viewed as, at the Career Center, high school students and adult education students. And that's fantastic. We saw this and we wanted to add a third component, and that is really for businesses, we want to provide a standardized training facility so a business, rather than tying up a machine to do training, they can come and train on our machines in our lab. Very well lit, good acoustics, available technology, smart boards, projection, flat panel screens, all the bells and whistles that are necessary to communicate in a modern society. And it's all available and it's all there. And the company doesn't have to invest the capital to do that themselves. And our facility is designed to be available 24/7.
That's great collaboration.
It is.
And having those conversations so that we're connecting business and education.
Absolutely.
Rather than each trying to go at their own and figure out a way.
Yeah, and at first I think people were worried, companies were worried about that whole, can we come together and collaborate? And through the process, I'm really pleased to say that it's been a phenomenal.
So you spend a lot of time at work. You got a brand new center with new technology and new programs, so that obviously takes up a lot of your time. But what else are you involved with in the community?
Well, in the community, I've just finished kind of my first year with the Kiwanis,
Okay.
and that was a new adventure, and that was a lot of fun. We appreciate the fact that in Kiwanis, it's part of their passion is toward literacy, whether that's not only in children but also for those who are adult and illiterate. And so creating resources and programs and pathways to help with adult and child literacy as well.
Is there something specific in the last year that Kiwanis did that you were part of that you're particularly proud of?
Well, we just finished Safety Town,
Okay.
which is a fun project where you get to interact with, we had 85 or so 5-year-olds.
Okay.
And led them all the way through getting to meet their local police department and the fire department and understand how to use a crosswalk.
Yeah.
And all those things that perhaps we take for granted,
Right.
but it allows these young people who will be starting kindergarten to be able to safely walk to the bus, the bus stop, and not to talk to strangers and all those good things along the way.
Well, I want to thank you for sharing and helping to educate us a little bit more about what RAMTEC is and the role that it's playing here with training and in enhancing manufacturing in Wayne County.
Absolutely. No, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to come and talk about it. It's something that we're very excited about. We think that it's a definite benefit to Wayne County economically. And so thank you for the opportunity to come and share some of the ideas and what it's all about. And we appreciate that it's RAMTEC and not that really long name. So RAMTEC is so much easier to say.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
So
Lori.
thank you, Bruce.
Have a great day.